through all incarnations. I mean, there was a period where we related to being American Indians, and so we kind of dressed like Indians. We got into the Egyptians, and we dressed like the Egyptians. And he very quickly took us through many, many incarnations and caught us up to now.
Now, did all the teaching come through Father Yada? Did he have like other elders in the group there that would also share teachings and stuff?
The teachings would come from whoever brought them. They were a gift. Sometimes they would come from a family member, or a family member would come into the family with a book. That like had the name in it, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the Tetragrammaton, the sacred name that was used in the Hebrew temples, and that became really our main teachings. Was everything revolved around that name.
Now, I was just watching a clip today of the movie Alice in Wonderland.
Paul Mazursky was a very good friend of Jim Bakker's.
Now, what other celebrities were involved?
You name them, and I want to tell you, they either had come to one of his other restaurants as Jim Bakker, and everybody followed him over to the source. We had all the musicians. John and Yoko used to come in. I mean, we made a list once, and we got a few of the family members in the Now together and said, who do you remember waiting on? Or who do you remember being there? And everybody. It was like anybody could name it. Marlon Brando, Julie Christie. I mean, everybody came to the source. Whether you were a Hollywood producer, director, an actor, and actresses, Bud Cort from Harold and Maude actually was in the family for a while.
Right.
But a lot of the people that came into the family like that, Cicely Tyson, gosh, it's hard for me to even go back and remember names. Sky Saxon of the Seeds, I don't know if you know who they were, but he came into the family as he was known as Arlick in the family. But most of the time, those type of people, Father kind of sent them back out to continue their career. Yeah.
Well, what about people like Timothy Leary, that kind of...
The thing with Timothy Leary and people like that is they all knew each other. There was a point where Jim Bakker, they'd either come to one of his other restaurants, or Jim Bakker had known about them or had met, but not at the source. And a lot of people that came into the family were, part of other communes or had met Timothy Leary. I mean, he was of course, everybody knew who he was.
Right.
He was very much a part of that time frame.
And in one of the documentaries, you mentioned Jodie Foster's father was a real estate agent. How was that involved? Yeah.
Well, like I said, Jim Bakker, he was a mover and shaker of the times before this source, and he had a lot of friends. Steve Allen was one of his best friends, Steve McQueen. I mean, it's just ridiculous when we looked back on it. Like, good God,
What about some of the other groups that were in the area, like the Manson family? Did you any brush across them?
Actually, we had two family members that came in after having some kind of an energy within the Manson family. The thing with the Charles Manson, was he had known Jim Bakker. Jim Bakker, I remember him mentioning he knew of them. But the thing about Charles Manson was when the whole murders happened, the press needed a name, and what came out of that was the Manson family really ruined a lot for a lot of people that were doing good. We got associated, like when we moved from L.A., where we were very well known and very well liked and respected and left alone. When we left L.A. to move to Hawaii, they thought we were part of the Manson family. It's like anybody with long hair, anybody in a group, got associated with that energy. And that whole Manson family followed us. It's like even when we premiered the Source documentary in L.A. at the Silent Movie Theater, there was 2 posters up. One was the Source family, and right after that they were showing the Manson film, a Manson home movie film that they had gotten a hold of. I mean, it just never ended for us. It was kind of like the light in the dark. Kept following each other throughout that whole experience. So,
what about another group that was pretty big at the time called the Process Church of the Final Judgment? Did you have any kind of run across them?
No, we knew who everybody was.
Right.
There was Sunburst Farms in Santa Barbara, which was very big, and they actually provided our produce along with Gypsy Boots. And there were other communes like the farm in Tennessee we knew about. The main one was in Scotland called Findhorn.
Right.
I don't know they were like the mothership. But the thing about communes back then was we didn't have internet or anything. Everybody kind of was on their own trip. A lot of people just thought they were the only ones. We didn't know the extent of what was happening until way after the family dispersed. And, we got into the 80s and the 90s, and then information started coming out about how many communes there actually were all over the place, and it was astounding. There's a religious professor called Tim Miller that did a book, The 60s Communes, The Hippies and Beyond, which I befriended him. We're very good friends now, and his book listed all of them, and he says there were tens of thousands of you guys scattered all over the place and in doing your own thing in different ways. Some were very Bible-based and Christian. Some weren't. Some are just living off the grid. But we were shocked, absolutely shocked to find out about so many of them that were happening.
No,
and a lot of them we're connecting with now, just remnants of everybody's families.
Now, what about, like, in your group? Because back then, with the whole counterculture movement, and there was a lot of infiltration, the COINTELPRO, FBI. Was there ever any infiltration, you believe, in your group by CIA or FBI groups to infiltrate your group?
Not within the group, but we definitely knew that we were being, there was surveillance on us, because we would go out into the back, and we would see them up on the hillside, and we would wave at them. And finally, I think one day, Father sent one of the sons up to tell him to come down and just have coffee with us and get it over with, and then we never saw him again. But I know that a few years back, I tried to find out any information I could from the CIA, the FBI, on what they had on us, and everything was blacked out.
Yeah, they always say nothing. Yeah,
well, they sent me something, but it was all blacked out, so I don't know.
Let's take a little break now. Let's take a commercial break now, and when we come back, why don't you tell us about what what your daily routine was with the group, and what your day was like. And we'll be right back with more of Isis Aquarian. And what was your original name?
Charlene Peters.
Charlene Peters. I see. I saw it on my caller ID the other day. I didn't write it down. Charlene Peters. Okay. And she's the website is called FatherYod.org. She's behind the documentary called The Source Family. And also another book you can check out is called The Source, The Untold Story of Father Yod, Yehovah 13, and The Source Family. We'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing, and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subhash Technosis by email at info@subhashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subhashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Isis Aquarian, originally known as Charlene Peters. The website is called FatherYod.org. That's Father Yod, Y-O-D. There's a documentary out there called The Source Family, and a really good book called The Source, Untold Story of Father Yod, Yahweh 13, and the Source Family. Why don't you give us an idea of what an average day was like when you were living with the group?
We would get up early in the morning for 4 a.m. meditation, which is a very ancient practice around that time. We never knew what was going to happen each morning. Father would talk about different things that maybe inspired him or came to him from other teachings or just other insight.
Would he have notes, or this is off the top of his head?
Pardon?
Would he have notes written down, or was this off the top of his head?
No, we lived very organically and cosmically, and it was pretty much when you tune yourself into other dimensions or cosmically, it just kind of seems like you get what you're supposed to need that day. It kind of takes on a life of its own, and it just became perfection. Every morning was perfection with whatever happened. Sometimes something would inspire him, and he wanted to share it the next morning, so he would have an idea of. But no, it was our life was spontaneous. Our music was spontaneous. We were spontaneous. And it was the natural flow of nature, so it took care of itself. Sometimes he would end up channeling things that came to him. He shared everything with us. He shared his, he orally told us everything about his life, the good, the bad, the ugly. There was nothing left out. And so we just never knew what was going to. There was a lot of laughter. I will tell you that we had a lot of fun. There was a lot of laughter.